Hello, everyone. It is Monday, September 4th, and shit is wild out there. And welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Luke, Who Is Your Father? I'm your host, Jules.
I'm Ricky.
I'm Kenny.
And this season, we have turned the mic over to you, the listeners, to tell us about your family scandals, trials, and triumphs. And it is not for the faint of heart. A gentle reminder that the opinions expressed in this episode are those of our guests who have been so amazing so far.
Great.
And we are just so lucky to have them. You can see this episode and all of our episodes and bonus content by subscribing to Luke, Who Is Your Father on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok at Luke, Who Is Your Father Pod, at Ricky Jump, and at Jules, Who Is Your Father. And follow us on Instagram at Luke, Who Is Your Father, at Ricky Jump, and at Kenny K23. We so appreciate your support and would love if you would just take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast and to share with really just anyone who you think could relate, would benefit, or just enjoy it all together. We are loving all of the reviews that we've received so far. Good and constructive.
Not so good.
And it just really means a lot to us and helps us out when you take the time to write out your thoughts rather than just hitting those 5 stars. So if you have the time, let her rip and be honest, because we really do take that feedback into account. And also, most importantly, if you have a story of your own to share of the Who Is Your Daddy variety, you can submit on lukewhoisyourfather.com, where you can also read our bios, any mentions in the press or on other podcasts, and see all of the platforms that we're streaming on. And just a note about that, we are not limiting ourselves to DNA stories. This is really any guest that has a story to tell about the relationship that they have with their father. I would say even with their mother. We don't want to be too pigeonholed by this, because we do have some guests coming up this season where it's really just diving more into that who is your father question, as opposed to not knowing who he was to begin with or anything like that. So if you are new here, we were triplets. Well, we are still separated at birth, reunited, and we found our biological father through Ancestry DNA. And we cover that all in season 1. So go back and take a listen if you haven't. Bring your tissues. And today, I think we're just going to dive straight into things, because this is the second of a 2-parter with Mark Craven, author of Dads Kiss Your Sons. And this week, we really dive into the DNA test that he just took at the end of his first episode. If you did not listen to episode 1 of season 1, go back, because you are going to be lost in
the sauce.
And let's find out who he is and what kind of path that this discovery sent Mark down and made him who he is today. All right, everyone, welcome back. We have Mark Craven back in the studio with us today. If you did not listen to our last episode with Mark, please go back and do that, because none of this is going to make sense, because shit is about to get crazy. So Mark, I think the last time that we were with you, you had just had taken a DNA test and found out that Mark was not your biological father. Mm-hmm. And I think we're about to find out exactly who that was.
Yeah. So we did a paternity test after. So I'd lived with him for 3 years, and was going, went back to school to finish a degree. And we did this paternity test almost jokingly, and it came back negative. So yeah, it was, it was wild and whatever, but really, knowing my mom, I realized this is just par for the course. I wasn't really, not that I wasn't shocked, but it essentially, once you deal with like the craziness of somebody so often over
Right.
and over and over again, you just kind of keep expecting more madness. So when more madness comes your way, you're just like, all right. Yeah.
You would
saw that
probably
coming.
panic if things were too calm.
Yeah, exactly. If it was like, no, yeah, he really is your dad. You have a happy life. The end. Like, it's not how it goes.
And Mark, before we get into this reveal, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Mhm.
We can obviously keep in or take out whatever you want, but this
Right.
is what you just said about the paternity test is a little bit of an indiscrepancy in what you told us last time. So the original motivation told to you for the paternity test was you wanted to get on your dad's insurance.
Right.
So they were requesting a paternity test because you had different last names.
Yeah. Turns out that wasn't true.
Okay. So let's just make sure to cover that when we kind of
put a pin in that. Yeah.
put a pin in that.
Sorry, my little dude just walked in. He's going upstairs.
Hi, Kai.
That's the Kai, man. That's the Kai. Kai's saying hi. Hey, you want to say hi?
Oh,
Come here.
hi.
Come here. Come say hi.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
my man.
Hi,
Hey,
Kai.
Shy boy.
Say hi.
Hi, Kai.
Hi, buddy.
What
What
a
a
have a
little
kiss.
cutie.
Have a kiss. Thank you.
Oh,
That's one way.
That's kiss your sons. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh my gosh, she's precious. He's so blonde.
He is super blonde, which
Hi,
yeah,
Erin.
there's Erin. They said hi. She can't hear.
Hi. I like your sunglasses.
I like your sunglasses.
The Michael Kors,
I
baby.
bought 'em for
Oh, there you go.
They were a birthday gift.
Sponsored.
You going to a nap? Go
Kors
take a nap.
podcast.
Okay. See
Oh
you,
my
buddy.
gosh, he's precious.
Sorry, you're. Whoop.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
he sounds
Yeah,
like
we can
tired.
hear you.
He's going up for a nap. Sorry, listeners. It was-
Well, no, don't say sorry. I
Hello.
think given the fact that who is your father is the theme of our podcast, it couldn't
Right.
be more suitable that we just met
Exactly.
your son.
he's really the star. He's really the star of the show in my life.
He is so cute. We have to we're gonna have to shout out Mark's TikTok at the end of this. Let's make sure to do that. And if you have to go check out Mark and his family, because dang, are they just precious.
Thank you.
Yes, I was
appreciate
just
that.
checking out Kai's daily affirmations this
Yes,
morning,
I
and
was
then I did them
looking.
with him.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I do every night. So I wrote them in the book, but I like every night after his bath since he was a baby, did I do it on the last one? Did I say what they were?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, do you want me to do it real fast?
Yeah,
It's kinda-
absolutely.
So I say this to him every single night when he goes to bed or right before bed. So it's bath time. Then he sits on my lap and while I'm drying him off, I say, you're strong, you're safe, you're secure, you're blessed, you're highly favored, you're covered in the blood of Jesus, you're healthy, you're kind, and you're so, so loved. You were born into abundance, you were born into blessing, you are abundant, and you are a blessing. And mommy and daddy love you so, so much. I love you, I love you, I love you. So I've said that to him right after his bath, every single time. So now we started in the morning. I'm like, are you strong? He's like, are you safe? Are you secure? We don't go through the entire thing, but just a few to like, start him like, okay, I am these things. It's important.
That'll be so fun when he does it, when he starts doing it himself for the first time. And so right now he's agreeing with you, but when he starts saying them, that'll be so cute.
And you'll have to let us know when he gets to the age where he's like, Dad, I'm not doing this anymore. And you're like,
I will, yeah.
Bet your ass you
You
are.
are going to do it. And, I always kind of say in there too, because I never push I don't like religion. It's more of a relationship. So I say like, you're covered in the blood of Jesus. That sounds like kind of crazy, but it's just, I don't know why the dude's losing it right now. He wants to be on the show. So, I just always say like, it's really just saying like we have a relationship with God and we're forgiven because of what he did at the cross. But there's so much craziness going on in the world right now, especially with, just conservatives and stuff. It's like it actually says they'll know us by our love, meaning unbelievers will know believers by their love, not like hatred or, saying gay people are going to hell or something. I mean, it's just, everyone's got it wrong. So just love each other. So yeah, that's a little disclaimer on what I say there.
We're on board.
Totally agree
with that.
Back to your question about that. So yeah, there was a little reveal.
So I think, so let's get into you finding, who your biological father actually was. And then I want to get into that reveal as we kind of go chronologically, because I know that was a very, very recent discovery for you. Yeah. So take us back to, and I think we might have gotten into this a little bit in the last episode, but take us back to finding, the DNA test, finding out that Mark was not your father. And then I think your aunt, or wasn't she the one who kind of pointed you in?
Yeah, she's my cousin. She's my cousin.
Your cousin, that's right.
Yeah, but she's more mom. And that's Kai's nanny. So, sorry. Looking, I get like notifications popping up, but yeah. So we did the paternity test. It came back negative. Mark was pretty upset, pretty kind of devastated, but nothing changed. It wasn't like, all right, you're out, see you later. We stayed close. Again, even to this day, we still are in each other's lives. But I was, it was still like things didn't change, but things obviously changed. So I talked to my cousin Vicky, again, who's more mom, but I told her about this, and she's crying and teared up and just, I can't believe your mom did this. And she was like, but look up a guy, he wrestled in the WWF in the 80s. I mean, obviously it's WWE now, but he wrestled in the WWF, and your mom was hanging out with him about the same time that she, got pregnant with you also. So she was hanging out with both. So my mom, they would go to wrestling matches all the time. I mean, my cousin Vicky, where there's pictures, like they met all of the wrestlers and knew all of them from like that golden era, like the Hulk Hogan era. They met Andre the Giant. They met Jimmy Superfly Snuka, held me when I was a baby. The Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson. They met all these people.
Was the Rock's dad a professional wrestler?
Yeah, Rocky Johnson.
I had no idea.
Today I learned.
Yeah. No, we're just laying facts on us. Okay, perfect. So she was kind of running around in this circle.
And the Rock's daughter's currently in the WWE. Or I think, she's a wrestler. I don't know if she's in WWE. Wow. There's all kinds of different. It's a family thing. His whole family was like in it.
Yeah.
The show that he did, or the movie that he did, Fighting with My Family, was fantastic. I don't know.
Yeah, that is a really great movie.
Yeah,
that's an awesome movie. The girl who that's about, she dates Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse. I don't know if you guys listen to that.
Falling in Reverse, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
tapping into my interests now, music and wrestling.
And were you before your aunt told you that your mom was into this? Were you a wrestling fan?
A huge, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I grew up. I was obsessed. Like when I was a kid, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I hated The Rock actually because he was a bad guy. He was always against Stone Cold. So when I was like growing up, people are like, "You look like The Rock." I'm like, "Oh, I hate that," but now I love it. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks."
Massive compliment. Yeah. And did that love of wrestling come from your mom? Is she the one that got you into it?
She was into it, yeah.
Okay.
So she was still really into it, and I mean, I did backyard wrestling matches when I was a kid. We'd put each other through tables and just did all, and had like a hand video camera, doing all that stuff. I was obsessed every Monday Night Raw, every single week. Totally, yeah. I was obsessed with wrestling. I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I grew up. That was my dream in 1998. That was what I wanted to do. That or start a band like Korn. One of the two.
It's never too late.
My two obsessions, yeah, Stone Cold and Korn in 98. So yeah, when Vicky brought that up to me and she said, "Look up this guy. He wrestled in WWF." Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I was like, okay, well, let me see. And I searched the name, pulled up a YouTube video, and it was like looking into a mirror. It was there. You didn't need a paternity test. There is zero question, just zero question about it. I felt like I was looking at myself in a 1983 WWF wrestling ring in wrestling trunks.
That's insane. And I don't think I knew. Well, I know that I didn't know. I don't know why I said that. I didn't know that you were into wrestling, which tell us how that felt to be so into professional wrestling and then to know that was in your blood.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. By that point, I wasn't really into it as much as I was when I was, like a decade earlier when I was a kid, but it's still something that I get like kind of fired up and, talk about, especially that era of wrestling that I grew up watching. So yeah, when I found that out, I was like, well, wait, we can swear on this podcast, right?
Oh, fuck yeah. It's required.
It's required. Yeah. I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is fucking cool. Like, wow, that, it makes sense. And my mom must have been like kind of shitting her pants, like as I was growing up, like totally obsessed if she's trying to keep this secret, of who your real dad is. Because not only did I find out he was a wrestler in the WWF, but I also found out he was black because Mark, who I thought was my dad, is Italian. So I was told my whole life that I was Italian.
Right.
And I came to find out my real dad was black.
And just to remind the audience, if you have a bit of a sieve of a memory, your mom raised you to be, or not you to be, but your mom was quite racist while you were growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was. Yeah, my mom was. Yeah, she was racist. She did not talk well about black people.
Did she date, like, because you said she was hanging out with this wrestler?
Yeah, right.
Did she date him, or were they just like friends, or
how
does that work?
I think she was kind of like a wrestling groupie, if we're being quite honest. But yeah, I mean, there was a picture. I had a picture of him with her and my grandma dated November 1984, and I was born September 1985. So like she was, she brought him around her family. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the racism came from. Maybe he like ditched her and she was like, oh, I don't like black people now. So, I don't know. I have no idea. Because the other part with my mom is like, a lot of, I can't bring any type of logic to a conversation with her. She's been a pathological liar her whole life. She's just, and I'm not saying this meanly, I'm just saying like she's just deeply illogical and irrational. So I couldn't bring any type of like logic to a conversation with her. So, trying to dig at that with her, it would get you nowhere. You'd have a better chance like talking to this bookshelf behind me.
Yeah. And I'm trying to refresh the audience as well, because my mind is swirling too. She knew that Mark was not your biological father.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I'm thinking she did.
Right.
Again, it's hard to like, unfortunately I can't call her and be like, hey, what's like the whole story here? Because
right.
You're gonna get a fairy tale.
Right. Have you ever tried? Like you find out this information and what are your next steps?
Yeah, like when I found this out, she was still denied it. She was like, no, that's not your real dad. I was like, come on. I'm like, Mom, like
the jig is up.
Like the jig did not
and
matter.
Has that been the extent of the conversation that you've had with her about it?
Pretty much, yeah, because she's, she just kind of blew it off or, just denied it. And, this isn't your real dad. And no, blah, blah, blah. That's not who he is. It's like, all right.
And what were your conversations? Because I'm sure that's incredibly frustrating, but it sounds like you were also at a point where you're just kind of resigned to that kind of reaction from her and that kind of conversation. What was your conversation like with the rest of your family?
I talked to Vicky about it and, we looked at it and like now I think a lot of them knew, but they just didn't. I think my mom, she did a lot of threats and, threatened them. If you really tell Mark, I'm going to take him out of your life and you're not going to be able to see him. And because she didn't want me around like Mark either, my Italian dad. So she, probably because she knew, she probably knew that he wasn't really my dad. Who knows? But she didn't want to take me around anybody. So Vicky was, and by this point, my aunt had passed away. My grandma had already passed away. So really the only person that was around was Vicky, at that time. And you know, she's just always been, I mean, she was at my high school graduation. My mom wasn't. She was at my college graduation. My mom wasn't. She was at my master's graduation with Kai. My mom wasn't. She was at, you know, my concerts when I sang in the metal band. My mom wasn't, you know, like, so Vicky has always just been mom to me, you know.
It's so amazing I mean, thank God you had someone to step into that role and be able to confide in. She just sounds like an incredibly loving and giving person.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, she is. I mean, and she has 3 other kids, younger, you know, my 2 little sisters and little brother. I always like joke. I'm like, I feel like I was like her teen pregnancy and then she met like her husband, who she's been with forever, and had, you know, my half brother and sisters.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where we're at now with it.
That's so, yeah. Shout out to Vicky.
Shout out to Vicky.
So you find this out, you're doing kind of this research on it, have pinpointed who this person is. And then where does it go?
Yeah. So there? At that time, this was, I was 25. So yeah, 12 years. This was 12 years ago. So I found out, you know, and then I started telling everybody and, you know, showing this video to people. And then I came to find out, like, this is wild, especially this just really speaks to genetics. I came to find out that, you know, he was from the area. He was from Pittsburgh. He wasn't like a big time. It wasn't Jimmy Superfly Snuka. It wasn't, you know.
You mean, like, it wasn't The Rock?
It wasn't. I don't think so. I wish it was. But yeah, you know, he wasn't like some huge name. He was what they call like a jobber. So he was just in Pittsburgh, and when WWF would roll through, he would just get beat up. So he would wrestle like the big guys, the big names, and then just get his ass kicked. So if you watch these videos, like, he sucks. He's not very good. So, you know, we did some research and started, you know, poking around and different people looking into things. And it turned out that he went to, so at this point, I had gone to a community college, and then I was, you know, graduated, and I was teaching math at a community college. And I was also working in administration at the community college. I came to find out that he went to the same community college. Then he transferred to the same university I transferred to for math. He taught high school math, and then he was a high school principal. So he was in high school administration. So I did the same thing. Like, he did wrestling, college, that career path. And then I did rock star. So I did my music. And then college, you know, so he taught high school math. I taught college math. And then he went into high school administration. I was in college administration before I even knew who he was, before I even knew, like, well, before I knew all this stuff about him after we did some research.
Did he do wrestling prior to all that stuff, or was he like high school principal moonlighting?
Yeah, I think he did it prior, because he was also a bodybuilder. He won like Mr. Pittsburgh. Like, he was a big guy, you know, and he was a professional bodybuilder, and then he got into wrestling. And I think he was just doing wrestling while he was, you know, finishing his degrees and stuff like that. Like I said, he didn't choose to travel with the, you know, the WWF. He stayed in Pittsburgh and just did it, you know, when it would come through town, which I guess was fairly often then.
Some donate sperm, some wrestle.
Exactly. And some do both.
Donate sperm. Exactly. Okay, so coming back to this theme of, you know, your mother you had been brought up in a home with racist tendencies and all that. You have proven yourself time and time again to be a very independent, free thinker. So I don't, you know, she don't know how much of that influenced you growing up, but was there any revelation there or feeling about that, about finding out that your dad was Black?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was what I had to sit with for a second. I was like, well, what does this mean to me? You know, does it mean anything to me? Because I'm not racist, you know? And, you know, thankfully, not only was I raised by my mom, but I was raised by my aunt, who was Vicky's mom, also, who we talked about in the last episode, Aunt Doe. So Aunt Doe was just, I mean, she welcomed everybody into the house. Like, you know, Vicky's 2 best friends in high school. One was a gay white guy. The other was a gay white woman that dated a Black woman, you know, so it was just very, there was never any people are different,
Mm-hmm.
or not everybody was the same. Everybody was accepted. We all just laughed together. Loved hanging out, especially with Anto. So, I really always clung to her, and I was I was so much more connected to her, and I just loved being with her so much. So, her tendencies rubbed off on me way more than my mom's did, but I still had to sit with that. Even when I was writing the book recently, I was really still, because now I have a son that's mixed,
Right.
So like what, did it mean anything? And I think what I came to realize was, because of being raised like that, at least seeing it, on an extreme degree with my mom, I did have this sort of underlying belief, that Black people are at least different than me, which is really fucking stupid because I'm Black. So, I think I saw them as them, but I think I just saw Black people as different than other people, and I think that was a result of always hearing, this group is not as good as this group, this group. And it like hits you hear it so much, and it's kind of cemented in your, sort of foundation as you're coming up, and, obviously through developmental years, because I lived with my mom until I was 15 before she moved to California. So, that whole time, again, I was with my aunt a lot, but I was primarily with my mom. So a lot of that did, just that part of it. And I was like, once I realized that, I was like, oh, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. So it was easy to just kind of like shoo that thought away and kind of burn it out of me. But I think it was important to write about and talk about even now, because racism isn't always blaring, and it isn't always, rebel flags, and it isn't always, white hoods and, screaming the N-word. Like that's not always what racism is. Racism is often institutionalized. It is institutionalized, and it is really, really, like, you almost have to like see it, because it's so like fine and kind of in the fabric of society. It's scary. So just seeing a group of people as different, that's racist. So, once I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally inaccurate. And it's probably something I would have never thought about, or I would have never picked up on. Cause again, I wasn't like, I don't talk to Black people, I wasn't, again, I wasn't racist, but I was like, oh, okay, now I'm in this group. Does it mean anything? And then I had to look back and be like, yeah, I guess I kind of picked up that this group is different, because I mean, my mom would always say how bad Black people were and X, Y, and Z, and she would drop the N-word a lot. And when I was little, I remember I think I was just an asshole kid. I was like 8 or something, and I sat in someone's hedges, like playing out with friends in the summer. And this white guy from the porch saw me, and I didn't see him, and he screamed like, get out of my hedges, you little N-word. And I was just kind of like looking around. I was like, well, who's he talking to?
Who's he talking to?
Yeah, because I'm white. I'm Italian. What do you mean? So even then, I was like, oh, don't call me that. I'm not that. That's reserved for that. So it was like, once I like dug into it, I was like, oh man, that was, just like I said, just thinking that way, just thinking a group of people is at least different. Right. And not just Black people, like any group of people. Like that's such a crazy, it's it's important to see if that's in you and to get rid of it immediately,
right?
Because it's invalid.
Since then, since having this revelation and taking the time to look inward and say, what does this mean to me? Have you, well, I have a 2-pronged question for you. One, obviously you were mistaken at least one, or not mistaken, correctly assessed at least once. Did people often identify you as Black or mixed race growing up, and that was confusing for you?
Oh, always. And it never like bothered me. I mean, well, unless someone called me the N-word, I was like, what do you mean? But sort of in a playful way, or in a just friendly way, where people are like, are you mixed? Yeah, all the time. I remember when I worked out at this one gym, I was like 18, and this guy, he was a little older than me. He was like just real pumped up, like Black dude. And, we were talking, he was like, he's like, what nationality are you? And I was like, oh, I'm Italian. He was like, you got some, well, he said N-word in you. He was like, yeah, you might be, but you still got some in you. I was like, all right, so I never I was never like offended. I honestly just agreed. I was like, yeah, I'm sure that I am. And then once it was fully revealed, I was like, oh yeah, you guys were right.
And then since then, have you, it doesn't matter, either answer is acceptable, obviously. Have you done the work to dive deep into that culture and what it means to you? Or, because I know that with mixed people, often it's even more alienating because you're not white enough to be not white and you're not black enough to be black. And I know that probably having that revealed is part of your identity. You're like, well, can I claim this? This isn't for me because I haven't lived that experience. So tell us about any homework that you did or what it does mean to you now.
Yeah, I mean, I should read more books on it. Just more books as far as like critical race theory goes, things like that. Because I'm not really schooled that well or well versed in that. Just because I'd like to read that. I'd also like to read a book I just saw, like Transgender, a History. It just seems really interesting to me. I'd like to check that book out. But when I actually had a counselor at the community college that I went to, and she helped me with transferring and things like that. And she was Jamaican. So when all this came out, she was like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to be black. And it was at her house for Thanksgiving with her family. It was the first time I had greens. So, so I don't know. I think I embraced it and, just, talked about it more and, definitely shared my story as far as like, yeah, I'm new to being black. So what do I do? What do you guys got for me? Because I was raised white. I was raised to believe that I was white, and you see like there's like privilege that comes along with that, and I mean it is interesting to put it, you put it that way where you're like, you're not white enough to be white, you're not black enough to be black, because I mean, I was raised in a black neighborhood, and I was raised with a single mom. I didn't have a dad, so a lot of that, I fall into that sort of demographic with that. But even when I was going through that, like, it still felt like I was separate, from right where I was. It's like a weird thing, it's kind of weird to even try to unpack now. Does that make sense? Because it sort of doesn't make sense to me.
we found out through this journey that we're Mexican, and they can maybe pass a little bit more than I can. And I've had like a really hard time because I'm like, I think it would be awesome to be Mexican, but I still don't feel like I can say that because I feel like that just, I look like an idiot.
Well, and that's sort of because it's like we're a quarter Mexican. In our DNA, we have a grandmother who is 100% Mexican, but we were not raised with any Mexican culture.
Sure. Yeah.
So I still wouldn't go and not because I don't want to, because I would fucking love to, but because I have not experienced the same level of oppression that some Mexicans have experienced or grown up in that community, I would never feel totally comfortable claiming that.
Right.
Because I feel that I haven't earned it. So have you been warmly received into the Black community, or has it very much been a thing of you've had white male privilege all your life? So
I feel like I was really accepted quickly because, again, people don't think that I'm white, when they see me. So it's kind of funny. I remember when I went back to college, I was like 22, and I was at the community college, and there was a huge group of students that always hung out. They were all Black, and they always they always hung out with me. And I was like, hey, the black kids like me. That's cool.
I can just picture you walking, like having
cool.
having a conversation, and then you walking away and them talking to each other and being like, that guy is black.
He's such an idiot. He'll find out someday.
Yeah, that's been it 100%. Yeah, like people are always like, yeah, well, we knew. I mean, you know, when I'm like, hey guys, guess what? I'm black.
They're like, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, we know.
Welcome.
Fucking moron.
The more and more we talk to people, the more we see that is actually a huge component of having your parentage, your true parentage revealed to you. Is it often comes with learning that you are a race that you didn't know you. So I think that there should just be, I'm hoping that as more comes to light, because it's happening so fast right now, that there is like a major study done on that, and that a comprehensive book released on exactly what it means to a person to find out that you are something that you didn't know, and that you may or may not have been raised to hate your whole life. Very interesting.
I just got this idea of like a book title like called just So You're Black Now.
That would be amazing. Oh my gosh, I would so read that.
Yeah, because I'm like a lot of black. I'm like 40. I'm like almost 50%.
Right.
We, I ended up doing I mean, it's a little later in the story, but I ended up doing an ancestry test, and it showed that I'm almost 50% Nigerian descent.
Wow. There you go.
Niger. Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect.
Well, I have one more question. Whenever we do these kind of interviews, I try and like put myself into your shoes. So this could be totally out of pocket, wrong, incorrect, and I'm just projecting. But if I had been raised by a super racist mom and then found out that I was in fact black, I feel like I would have two thoughts. One, is she like racist towards me, and that's why our relationship is the way it is? Or is she subconsciously, has this become a thing because she did not want me to like find out in any way, so she wanted to try and distance me from that situation? Is that any accuracy at all in your thought process? Or
probably more the first one, because we just didn't like each other.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me. I'm just kidding. Hey, do you think your mom hates you for the reason that you have no control over whatsoever? Yes. Next question.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I do think so. Because like I said, we really, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's specifically that, or she's just a very hard person to get along with. She doesn't. I think it's more that, to be completely honest, because there's not one person in our family that she talks to. With Vicky's my cousin, like I said, and we actually have a lot of cousins, pretty big family as far as cousins go. And my mom doesn't talk to anyone, and everyone has the exact same metric of her, and everyone has the exact same opinion of her and says the same things, and all the stories corroborate. And that's a hard word for me today. I don't know why. All the stories, line up. And so I think it's really her personality. I think she loved me when I was little and a baby, and like it's cute, and they're little and cute and stuff, but once you like start growing up and it's another person that you got to interact with, I just don't think she has a skill set in interacting with people. Unfortunately, because she has a lot of, I mean, I don't know now because we're pretty far away from each other, but at least for the whole time I lived with her, untreated and undiagnosed mental health issues.
I'm wondering, have you guys heard any research on that or anything? I wonder if, and I don't want this to sound like an excuse or giving someone a pass or anything like that, but I'm wondering if there's any correlation between your mental health deteriorating and your ideas or your view of the world changing like that drastically, as a result of that. Because it is interesting. She obviously at one point was attracted to Black people.
Right.
It would be so interesting to see, was there something, did something happen? Like, how did this come to be that,
Yeah, if we could separate, like, if you were studying somebody that was like the only thing going on, like I said with my mom, because of like the mythomania and how much she lies and stuff like that, it's hard to get a read,
right,
like separate that would be accurate of what happened that you became racist.
Yeah.
Because like I said, in dealing with her, it's like I don't.
I'm almost wondering, like, did this guy dump her?
Yeah, like
while she was pregnant, she was
right.
like, "Fuck you guys." Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, like fuck you and your whole race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, maybe
said that about men a lot,
right?
When a woman gets cheated on, there's typically a conversation with women where you say, "I'm done with all men."
Right.
Fuck the male species, or whatever you're inclined to say. So this might just have been a bit more tangible and visceral.
Yeah. I'm wondering.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have interest in, some people do, some people don't. Do you have interest in trying to heal that relationship at any point? Or have you drawn the boundary that it's best for you to be separate in this way?
It's mostly we're mostly in the boundary area. Not to, and that's not to say I would never let her come around Kai or visit or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, we're not going to be doing like daily talks anytime soon.
Well, I think it's also another checkbox in the nature versus nurture argument, because you clearly are a very well-liked, personable individual, proven by the fact that, you have a dad that's not actually your biological dad, that still is like, no, like we're we're tight, man.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were not like a likable person, then that would have been just like, all right, I'm relieved of this duty.
Yeah, right.
And if that seems to be kind of like a common theme in your life, is these people who are so willing to like take you in.
And
that's because of who you are.
Thank you. I sincerely appreciate you saying that. I mean, I wrote a chapter in the book called, I think it's either called The Village or something like that, but it's around that proverb of it takes a village,
Right.
And I mean, I do have a massive village, and I'm so thankful for that. And, I really attribute a lot of that to, not just to God for giving me that gift of being able to connect with people, but showing me an example of it through my aunt. And how everybody just loved her. Everybody wanted to be around her. Everybody was drawn to her, and she was just so likable. She was so likable. So I think I picked up a lot of that from her. And now, and it's just been my whole life, especially when I lost her when I was 18, and so many friends' parents just stepped in and became like parents to me. So many people have come into my life that didn't have to, that have loved me for no reason, opened doors for me, gave me free food all the time when I was a broke college student at so many cafeterias. I mean, just, I just had this, it's, I call it favor, and I don't mean that to sound egotistical, but I really, and again, I'm not trying to be like too God in the podcast and what I'm talking about, but it is God's favor. I really truly believe that, and I'm thankful for it, and I see, and what's really cool and I'm really thankful for is I see it in Kai. So many people just love that little boy, and he is like a light. And it's not just because like he's like cute, but like he has some kind of energy. And I don't think I'm saying that just because I'm his dad. Maybe I am, but he does have some kind of energy where like people are really interested and touched when he, like, if he gives someone a fist bump, they're like
melt.
Yeah, yeah, they're just, so I think it's man, it's gotten me through so much because I have so many people that are just there for me. And still to this day, I'm walking through some stuff even now, and I have so many people that are just, ridiculous, just ridiculous. The village that I have around me, I'm so thankful for it. So thank you for saying that, Kenny. I really appreciate that.
Would say the same about you.
Of course.
So I want to
before we do, just because you're a writer, Mark. Something that I've been doing, I've been having to, as we do more interviews about my mom's decision to separate us, it's become abundantly clear to me that I do, in fact, have to reveal some things about my dad that I don't want to. I have been very protective over him up to this point.
Yeah.
But the truth is, he did threaten to leave my mom if she kept all 3 babies. And they had a relationship fraught with infidelity. He was not a good husband, but he was such a good father to me that I am having a hard time telling people about all of his faults. And I don't obviously have a chance to talk to him about any of that. But what I've been doing, if you're interested, because you probably won't repair that relationship with your mom with her, but if you're interested in looking into it further within yourself, I've been writing my dad's life story from his perspective, from what I know of him.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's been incredibly healing. So I wouldn't make this suggestion if you weren't a writer, but being as though you are, that might be a really helpful or healing way to try to understand what the logic was at any point in time, or why your mom is the way she is.
And I'm really proud of you for facing that, and having that conversation, even with yourself, let alone lots of other people. But because that is that shows a lot of growth on your end and a lot of growing on your end, because you said it perfectly. He was great to me, treated me like gold. I was his little girl. He didn't do the greatest things to other people that I love. So that's hard. That's hard to wrestle with.
Thank you, Mark. Back to wrestling.
Okay, so I want to get into this kind of revelation that you just had, and then we obviously want to get into what you're doing now and how all of this, everything that we've talked to up to this point, has shaped who you are today, shaped what you choose to do with your everyday life, and how it has shaped you as a father. So tell us about, you've had this DNA test. Mark is not your father. You and Mark are still homies, yada, yada, yada. But I think that you just found something out about why this test was even taken.
Yeah. So, man, my life. Jesus, come on. So yeah, we're kind of in the very recent past. So I released the book, and it's been doing well, and that's why I'm here. Thank you guys for connecting with me. This has been amazing. So the book's been doing well, and I had some interesting media opportunities, especially here in Pittsburgh. I was on like CBS News Pittsburgh and doing some interviews and stuff. So, it's been catching on as far as media goes, which is great. And I went to breakfast with my dad with Mark, and we had breakfast, and he looked at me, and I don't know if it's because the book has caught on so much, or because I talked about that a lot. I don't know, maybe it started to get to him. I can't speak for him there, but he did say, he was like, I've lied to you once. I was like, oh God. I was like, okay,
here we go again.
Here we go. Oh my God, come on, people. I was like, all right, what? That's fine. Like, what is it? And he did reveal. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to reveal this publicly, but oh, fuck it. So he said that when his wife at the time, they're not married anymore, she said to him, I don't think Mark's really your son, so I think you need to do a paternity test. And apparently, but he told me it became this huge fight, and it was the biggest fight they ever had, and just going back and forth. It turned out, this is like crazy to me, she stole my toothbrush, forced him to do the test. They did the test, came back negative. So before we did the test, they already knew the results. So he had to come up with a lie to get me to do the test, which I'm like looking back, I'm like, you could have just asked. I don't give a shit. We could have just done it. But that happened, and he was like, well, we have different last names, and I want to put you on my health insurance, so my company wants us to do this paternity test, and then we did the paternity test. So
do you remember so for the audience, when Mark is saying recent future, this happened in between the first time that I had spoken to Mark and now? And do you remember when we talked on the phone and you told me this thing about the insurance and I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, Mark, is that normal to do that? I was like, I don't think
maybe maybe I'm just too like gullible and people just lie to me easily because I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, no, I think that you believe the best in people still somehow.
Yeah.
Good word. Somehow.
What was she imploring for an actual, and you might not know, was she imploring him to find out whether or not you were biologically his because he had taken you under his wing and you were living with them and he was kind of supporting you in that way?
Maybe. I can't speak for her, so I don't know what. Maybe you just needed to know. It was a need to know thing because he was supporting me. I wasn't paying rent. Like he was paying for me to go to school because he opened the door. He said, I'll pay for you to go back to college and you can live here. You don't have to pay rent. Like, and it was like a mansion. It was like, before that I was living in this dilapidated house. I had a fucking hole in my ceiling. I'd wake up in the morning, there was like fresh plaster all over the ground and stuff. So I was like, hey, here's this rich dude that's my dad. And of course I was like, yeah, you seem cool. You got me Chinese the first night we met. I'll move in and see how it goes. I kind of go with the flow.
I think that's where Ricky is getting at is it's, of course, like we can't speak for her. We haven't been in this position, but I feel like our first instinct is to be like, why the fuck do you care? Like it's,
and we might be wrong in that. Like the more I think of it, I guess it would be a little bit different if you were it was even a possibility that you were trying to take this dude for a ride,
right?
But you were also told he was your biological father. So that isn't the case. But I guess the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, they should have just asked you. She should have just asked you. But I suppose I can see her wanting to protect resources.
Right.
Yeah.
And because Mark has, her and Mark have kids.
Yeah. Well, she had a son and then they have a son together.
So that might have factored in as well. But
yeah.
And we're like stomping all over Kendall over here.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh no, I'm just being petty over here. I'm just like,
we're so protective over Mark.
I know.
Love you guys.
We're trying to alleviate ourselves of this tendency that we have. So we're also missing a huge. You find out who your dad is. Do you go looking for him? What happens?
Yeah. So, I found out who he was. Let me think. Yeah. So we find out who he was, and Mark actually reached out to him. And then Mark called me and said, I don't think this is going to go how you want it to go. Because when Mark reached out to him, he just started like screaming and like losing his damn mind and saying like, you got the wrong person. You want Snuka. You want Jimmy Snuka. You want Superfly. That's what you're looking for. I think everyone was blaming pregnancies on Superfly. Who knows? But he's like, you got the wrong person. And if you do this again, this is harassment. I'm going to call the cops if you do it again. So that was when I was 25. That was right when we found out all of this stuff. And then fast forward, right before Kai was born, I did an ancestry test, and it connected me because at that, when we reached out to him, it was based on a YouTube video.
Right.
There's zero question, trust me, on this video.
So you took your ancestry test.
Did the ancestry test, and it connected me to a guy. And he wrote in my book, his name was Eric, and it said like, you're likely an uncle, you know. So I looked at it, was no question. I knew it was his brother. I knew, you know, this, we all have this smile. We all have the same smile. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, you know, I believe your brother's my dad. Obviously, like, this is connecting us. I'm not looking for anything. I'm not even looking for confirmation. I'm really just looking to see if there's a family history of medical issues, because I have a son on the way. That's it. That's all I want. You know, I don't want anything else. And he was just so warm, so welcoming, so excited. And, you know, he and I built a great relationship. And he, you know, his message to me back was, you look just like your dad.
Wow.
You know, and he immediately welcomed me into the family. And, you know, we went and visited him when Kai was born in Florida, where he lives. And he, you know, he was just a great guy. And the other crazy part of that is I found out that I have a half sister who was older than me, like about 20 years older than me. Donna, who's incredible. So she's amazing. She yeah, she's wild. Just got the best energy. And when her and I met, it was like we had grown up together, you know, just incredible. So
we are familiar with the feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, yeah, that, you know, that part was really cool. And then even with all of that, Uncle Eric would reach out to him, and he still to this day does not want to meet me, doesn't want anything to do with me. He agreed to answer some questions for my book, and I sent him the questions, and then he disagreed. He just decided not to do it. He lives, I could walk to his house from where I live currently. I could walk to his house.
Wow.
And he has 2 younger children, actually. So I actually have a half younger brother and a half younger sister. They're in their like 20s.
So, maybe there's a reason him and your mom got along.
Well, I was gonna say,
yeah. I have like dickhead parents. Like,
do you
straight up, my parents are dicks. Like,
do you think that his very strong resistance has anything to do with his feelings towards your mom?
What I've learned, I don't know. I've learned that him and my mom do have a lot in common. I'm just seeing this connection, but he's very much isolated from his family, and he doesn't talk to my older sister like at all. You know, they're very much estranged. I mean, they talk here and there, but not. I don't think she's talked to him since he did not decided not to answer the questions for the book, because she was the bridge. You know, he would only talk to me like through her. But yeah, he's very much isolated from his family too. So I have 2 parents that are just assholes.
That's and how do you feel how do you feel about, so you've never met him in person? And it sounds like it's probably not in the cards unless you pull a Ricky and just pop up where you know he's going to be one day. And how do you feel about that?
You know, at like when Mark called me when I was like 25 and said, this isn't how you want it to go, and he was like this, I was upset. It hurt. You know, you felt rejected, and you know, it's kind of sad. Then we fast forward 12 years later. I don't really, you know, I did everything I could do. You know, I didn't, you know, I was never hateful or mean toward him, you know, and the door is always open. Like the ball is like fully in his court. If he ever is like, okay, Mark, let's get coffee together, I'd be like, all right, it's on you though. Like, you're buying, dick. But I'll get the next one. But I just never had that, like, I don't know. I never carried around a grudge. I never carried around like a chip on my shoulder when I was younger. Like, oh, my dad left, I'll knock him out if I ever meet him. I just never gave a shit. So when I met Mark, it was like, hey, what's up, man? Cool. And then it was like, you're not my dad. I was like, all right. You know, very much, I don't know. There's a book called Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and it's written by Dan Millman. Everyone should read that book. It's a fantastic book. But there's a really good story in it that I can't fully remember it, so I'm not going to get into it. But it's essentially, quickly, it's about this. Actually, I do remember it. It's taking place in like long ago, and you know, this girl falls in love with this guy. They have a baby out of wedlock, which is a no-no then. So like her family takes the baby up to this monk in the mountains and says, "This is your baby," and he opens the door and says, "Okay." And then, you know, they go back to town. She gets married to this guy, and, you know, then they go back and they say, "Hey, that's our baby. Give it back." And the monk says, "Okay." So that's kind of, you know, how I have been with life in a lot of ways, where it's like, "Hey, this is your dad." And I'm like, "Okay." And then it's like, "It's not your dad." I'm like, "Okay." Right. You know, so if he's like, you know, basically like the wrestler's like, "Fuck you," I'm like, "Okay." And if he's ever like, "Hey, not fuck you, let's get coffee," I'll be like, "Okay."
Yeah. It seems like everything that you've been through in your life has almost forced you to sit with yourself, be with yourself, really get to know who you are, which has created just someone who is very independent. And I don't want to say you haven't been able to count on people all the time. So it feels like you have sort of this this identity that is a protection and a shield for you, and is just, you know, lets you roll with the punches because everything has been so unpredictable. So feels like that kind of grounds you.
Yeah.
And I would posit. Go ahead, Mark.
No, good.
Because I'm just sitting here thinking about your biological father, and, you know, obviously we were so fortunate to be warmly received, but it doesn't always happen that way. And I don't know how much responsibility anyone has to receive someone warmly that they. Obviously, this is a little bit different because this was not, he did have relations with your mom. But we don't know if he knew she was pregnant or, you know, what have you.
Who knows?
But if we're looking for the positive that came out of it, you now, I'm sure very intentionally, whether you know that or not, have forged such a strong identity as a strong, present father.
100%.
And I don't know if that would have happened if you had that in your own life. You know, I feel like some people who come from a really tight-knit nuclear family, those actually tend to dissolve quicker because they have no idea what it's like to not have it. So they don't have that. They don't realize the value.
It's not like a skill that they had to build or something that they had to.
It's not even aware. It's not in their awareness.
Right. Exactly.
It's not in their awareness.
So I don't know if you'd be the father that you are today. If
my life has been pretty fucking shitty at so many points. Just garbage. Terrible. We all walk through stuff. All of us. I'm not saying I walk through worse things than anybody. Whatever breaks your heart breaks your heart. It doesn't matter what it was. Right. So your pain is valid, is my point in saying that. My pain is valid. What I walked through, my life has been fucking terrible at so many points. Just gut-wrenching, terrible. And when I sat down to write this book, I had all the, you know, things that I went through and walked through, and I was like, you know, why am I saying these stories? Why am I telling people about this stuff? What's the big deal? Everybody goes through things. And then when the message hit me, dads kiss your sons, I was like, oh, that's why I went through it. And I can say this fully about my little boy. To get to him, I would walk through that stuff a million times.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again to get to that little boy. Because I love him. I get emotional thinking about him. He's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I just love him. Like, there's no words. There will never be a word that I can put that would even make sense or come close to how much I love that little boy. And I would do, you know, I would do anything. I would walk through my shitty fucking life over and over and over and over and over to get back to that little boy, no matter what.
It's making me cry because I am just picturing Kai listening to this when he's older. And I really, really hope that he gets the chance to do that. So that's the perfect transition into where you are now. So tell us about where you are now, how this has, just like Ricky said, how this has shaped who you are. Tell us about Kai, and then tell us about your book.
Kai is the greatest. He is my best friend. We go to Starbucks every day.
Does
just
he get
about.
a cup?
No, but he gets pumpkin loaf. He gets pumpkin loaf, and he loves it every day. All the baristas love him. Sometimes he gets free stuff. They all high five him and fist bump him. The U.S. Senator, Pennsylvania's U.S. Senator John Fetterman, who's actually on Time Magazine right now, just gave him a fist bump this morning, and he was loving it because Kai fist bumped him, and Kai's always so kind of shy. Like, Kai has influence. He's so loved by so many people, and it's so easy to love him. And maybe I'm just saying this because I'm his dad. I don't think so, but he's just such a good boy. He's just such a good little boy. And I've been taking him out in public, even though he was born in the pandemic. We would always be out Starbucks, usually going on walks. He's been around people all the time, so he's just really comfortable being out, being in public. He's really well behaved in public. But I get emotional talking about this. One of the best things about him is he's so loving. And I mean, even this morning I was like grabbing like my shirt out of the drawer, and he was here, and I didn't know what he was doing, but he was kissing me on the cheek, and I like turn over, and then he kisses me, and he just will randomly run up to me and hug me, and he just likes cuddling, and we just hold each other while we're watching movies, and he's just such a loving little boy. And that is so far my greatest achievement as a dad is him and his love, like just how loving and open he is with showing his love. Because it's not just to me, it's to his brother, his sister, to his mom, to his everybody in his life. It's a Kai hug, Kai kiss, I love you. Like he's the best. And man, it's just, you hold on to it, goes so fast. I feel like he was a little tiny baby, he fit right here like 20 minutes ago, and now he's going to be 3 in a couple weeks, and he's just this huge kid. He's super active. Like, he climbs, it's real funny, he'll climb onto my shoulders, he'll stand straight up, I'm not holding him, like total crazy balance, and he'll do like a backflip off my shoulders. Like, he's he's fearless. And that fearlessness comes by being loved. And when dad's always going to catch you, you'll do shit like that. Right. And he does that. So yeah, becoming a dad, man, just truly the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. That's a cliche thing to say, but I mean, I really mean that, and I think about all the dreams that I have, and, succeeding as a writer, and succeeding more with the book, and speaking to more audiences, and being on podcasts like this. Like, this is part of my dream, being here right now with you guys. Like, this is lived reality, in a dream lived reality, seeing all these things happen, and the things that I want to come to pass. But I also think about when I'm with him, because I'm always thinking about my dreams and my goals and stuff. But when I'm with him, I'm like, what would I rather have? Would I rather have this goal down here, or would I rather be right here with him? And it's always right here with him. So it's so cool to, like, every day be right where you want to be, and that's how I feel as a dad. Every day I'm right where I want to be.
Did you always want to be a dad?
No, no, I don't think. I didn't see it come. I was 34, when I found out I was going to be a dad. And to be honest, by that point, I was like, no, I'm not, it's probably not going to happen. It would have happened by now. So no, I never really anticipated. And to be honest, this is a big part of the story. This is a big part of the book, is I was terrified. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was out of my fucking mind. Obviously, we just talked about my whole life. Like, I didn't see, not only did I not see a dad, I didn't even see a healthy, really, family. I didn't see any of that stuff. So how could I do it? And I was, I was so scared, and I just wanted, I didn't even want Erin to go through with the pregnancy. Like, that's how scared I was, and if she did, I wanted to do adoption, which, like, saying that now makes me want to fucking puke, to be honest, because I'm on the other side of what fear was bullshitting me. Fear is a liar. Everybody needs to know that and remind themselves of that every day when you're walking towards something and you get scared. Fear is a liar. It's a lie, period. And I'm so thankful that when I told Vicky, this was the turning point for me. I told Vicky, it was like on Christmas in like 2019. I was like, so I'm going to be a dad, and just cry in tears and so excited and so joyful. And I was like, wait, I'm not in trouble, because for some reason in my brain, I was like,
teenager.
What's that?
You were still a teenager.
Yes. I was like 16 that just got my girlfriend pregnant. Yeah. I was like, what the, like, I'm not a full grown adult that has a career and education and all these things. So I was, and once that happened, I was like, oh, this is a good thing. Like, this is a really good thing that I'm gonna be a dad. And I sat through that, and this is the message for so many dads, especially soon to be dads, is just sit through that fear, sit through that discomfort, because what's on the other side is like this love that's just out of control. It's just totally out of control.
I want to just pick a little nugget out of what you said about when you were talking about Kai, and you said that he's fearless, and that comes from being loved. And I think that's so important. And you're helping like flip the script on what we have done to men in our society, is that like tough love, like you gotta toughen up, you gotta like be this like strong man guy. Yeah. And
that's all bullshit.
That is what creates fear and like makes like it's really bad. So I just really admire that you have kind of like flipped that script, and you're like, being loved is what makes you fearless. That's really cool.
100%, because he knows I'm always going to catch him. Yeah. He's totally fearless because he's so loved. He's so cared for by I mean, he just has great family around him and people that just are always there, and always love him so much. So yeah, I think he just knows like that's always going to catch me.
Are you able to give yourself your own flowers in terms of looking at Kai and seeing how amazing he is, and how much people gravitate toward him, and how much influence he has, and how cool he is, and be like, a significant part of that came from me?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Because that's why I walked. That's, there had to be some beauty from the ashes, and there he is.
I'm so excited for everyone to get to see him and see what a little cutie he is. And yes, absolutely, all the flowers to you. And first of all, thank you for sharing all of that, especially the things that are really hard to share and that, people, I think a lot of times tiptoe around, and it's just really powerful. And we're so happy that we were able to connect with you. So tell us about your book.
Yeah. So the book's called Dads Kiss Your Sons. And it actually, so I'm self-published, and this is my 7th book. I was going to go the traditional publishing route with this one. And I wrote like a whole book proposal, which is like a graduate level project. Like, that was crazy to do. But then I just decided ultimately to do self-publish it. And in self-publishing, you learn a lot of things because you make a lot of mistakes. And even if you've done it 6 times before, you still, mess up. And I actually messed up because I did a pre-release, and you should never do a pre-release unless you have like a huge platform. Okay. So I accidentally did pre-release, and I was like, man, and I did all this research on marketing for the first week. And, I picked, like, I have the right categories on Amazon that match the book. And it's, I can hit bestseller status if I stick with this strategy, but here's what's not part of the strategy. And what can kill the strategy was setting it for a pre-release, which I fucking did. So, I was just like, oh my God, like I blew it, blah, blah, blah. But it actually became a bestseller in pre-release, and then maintained bestseller post-release. And, and it hit number 1 in, several of the categories, which, I mean, that just blew me away. That was another like lived dream, just coming to life. And it's so cool because like the message really is just so important. Just dads kiss your sons. Just be, open and vulnerable and loving. And one of the big pieces in the book is like, you find healing for yourself by loving your son, your daughter. It doesn't have to just be your son. But yeah, the book it's been doing really well. And, just like I said, some of the media attention that it's been getting has been, really, really cool. And, sorry, there's noise behind me. One of the cool things was, sorry. Can you not do that? What the fuck was I talking about?
the media around it.
So one of the cool things that I'm like really excited about is I submitted it to Kirkus for a review. And if anyone doesn't know about Kirkus is like the industry gold standard for book reviews. And I mean, they review everybody, famous authors, everything. And to get a good Kirkus review is not guaranteed. And you pay $400 to submit for a Kirkus review that you get back in 9 fucking weeks. That's a lot of fun to sit on and wait for. So when I got the review back, I actually prayed to accept the bad review I was about to read. I was like, oh God, just let me accept that it's not going to be good. Talk about like optimism, right? And then I opened it, and one of the lines in this like glowing review, which I'm still blown away by, was it's a story that what the hell did it say? It's like a book that an entire generation of fathers probably needs to read. I was like, holy shit. I was totally blown away by that. I'm still blown away. So yeah, the book's been like catching on and just doing really good, and connecting me with really great people that I get to hang out with. But yeah, it's doing really well, and it's it's available everywhere: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, blah blah blah, all that.
And if you could just tell us what the central thesis is, or what's it about?
What's it about? Sorry, yeah. I was going all like, how's it doing? Assuming people like read the. I don't know what you guys want from me. I don't know. It's a lot of, it's my story, most of what we shared, throughout, but then there's a lot of science within it. So my undergraduate degree is in biology. So I actually did a ton of research on what actually is going on when we're hugging and holding and kissing our little ones. What are the neurological connections, and, and anatomically, neurophysiologically, psychologically, there's a lot of developmental psychology, like what's going on not only within our infant and our little ones' brains, but what's going on in our brains. So like I said, there's actually healing for us. There's something called physiological synchrony. So what happens when you're kissing and hugging, and dopamine's released in them, and cortisol, the stress hormones, decreased, and there's neural connections happening that lean more towards security rather than insecurity. And that same thing, the physiological synchrony, it's going on in our brains too. So even though we're broken and fucked from our past, in loving and building these beautiful relationships with our little ones, we're actually healing ourselves from that broken past and creating this beautiful foundation that we never knew before. So there's a lot of that, a lot of, again, my story. And I just touch on just the importance of, just loving your little ones, but also I kind of break the book into thirds. It's like a third sort of memoir, a third science, and a third self-help. I talk a lot about going after your dreams and, setting goals and things like that. Cause like I said, I sang in a metal band and, did the rock star thing. So that was cool.
Well, again, it's Dads Kiss Your Sons by Mark Craven.
Where can we find you on socials as well?
Socials.
Yeah. So Instagram, TikTok, I don't know what the hell's my handle on Instagram. I think it's just @_Mark_Craven, and just go there, really. Instagram, because that's where my link tree is, and I do a lot of stuff with Instagram. So
it's _Mark_Craven_.
Okay, 3 underscores. There it is. Beginning, middle, and end.
Yes, perfect. Go check it out. And I think to wrap us up, Mark, because your story sort of has these 2 pieces. So if you could give any advice or any nuggets of knowledge, wisdom about just the parenting that you have seen and how you've changed that, and then B, for our listeners who do who do have these secret families or have, these discoveries that they're making or think that they might make, what advice would you give?
So for the first question, it was more of like parenting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You learn on the job. Best advice I ever got from someone, because like I said, I was terrified coming into it. I remember when Kai was brand new, we were in the hospital and he was sleeping, and I was like, just stay sleeping because I don't know what to do if you wake up. And it felt like being at like a new job. You're sitting in there like, I hope no customers come in because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Or like, if you're like if you were a bouncer and then turned bartender, and if someone asked you for like a Manhattan, you're like, here's your Budweiser. What'd you have? So I was just, I was so scared. But again, you learn on the job. You pick things up so easily, and it's just second nature. It's second nature. It's as easy as breathing. That's it. You're not going to break them. They're, resilient and strong. And I mean, just really just love them. I mean, that's it. Like, I shouldn't even have to say that, and once you have your little one, you'll realize why I don't have to say that, because it just hits you, and it's so overwhelming, and it's so beautiful, and it's so powerful. You never want it. You don't ever want it to go away. You're just like, wow, this is incredible. I'm going to live for this every single day. And then the other part of that, if you're coming into finding new family or finding new identity, explore it, explore it, see what it means to you. Look at some of the uncomfortable truths that might be in you that might need changed. Like, if you think this group of people is different than this other group, but just explore it and be open to it, and be open to it not working out. Don't expect that. Don't expect it to be like a Mark Craven story where the whole world fucking deceives you. But just be open, because you can find some really beautiful things. And I did, it just because my dad didn't want to meet with me doesn't mean I have this beautiful relationship with my sister and uncle and cousins, all these people in my life now because of that. Even though he's, said whatever, I mean, that's not what determined it. So just be like that monk from the story, from Way of the Peaceful Warrior. When things come to you, accept them. When things are pulled away from you, accept them. That's just push and pull. If you're being pulled, push. If you're being pushed, pull.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It has been so much pleasure to talk to you. We were talking after our recording with you for the first time. We were like, shit, this is our first interview of the second season, and we don't know if we're going to be able to follow it up, because you have been just
set the bar too high.
Set the bar really high.
Wow.
It has been
I hope today
was
as good as that one.
Oh, no, it was wonderful. So, you are such a presence, and just like you say about Kai, such a light.
You have influence.
You have influence. You are strong. You are secure.
You're hitting me right here. You really are hitting me in the
heart. Thank you so much, Mark. And we can't wait. I'm sure this is not the last time we'll talk to you, and it has just been such an honor.
I can't thank you guys enough. Seriously. Like, I really feel like immediately after that last one, I was like, they're like my sisters, I feel like. I mean, like, we definitely, I'm so thankful that you guys have allowed me to come on here, especially to have this coveted first guest, opportunity. But just to be here and have this conversation with you guys, you're so powerful, and you bring out so much that I haven't even thought about. I said that in the last one too. And that's what I was telling people after. I was like, they made me feel bad at times. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like, you just bring out like just this visceral, like, man, that is what I was feeling then. I mean, I talk about the story so like quickly, and I go through it, but it's like, well, what were you really feeling there? So, the way you guys interview people and the way that you pull that out is it's you all have a gift here. You all have a gift, and you all have a beautiful platform that is going to hit so many people. I believe it, speak it, and I'm excited to see it just explode more than it already is.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
We love you.
Really
I love you guys.
I think we got to maybe do something for editing, but we never asked him a question.
Oh,
at the beginning.
I think
were we gonna do
we
that?
need that? It's fine.
Yeah, I think we're okay. We didn't do the when was last time but I think because he's into, we'll be okay. Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Okay.
We'll ask Kendall and Corey.
Yes. We love you. We're so proud of you.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Mark. Everyone go pick up Mark's book, Kiss Your Sons, and go follow him on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever he is on social media. It's _Mark_Craven_.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I love you all. Seriously.
Love you too.
And all the listeners. I love all you guys.
Thank you. And there you have it. That was a doozy, I think, and such a great start to season 2 for us. Mark, thank you so much. I think that we all learned a lot and we're really, really touched by the story that you told. And I think my biggest takeaway is just, even in spite of pretty rough circumstances all throughout his childhood and even obviously past that point, Mark has grown into such a warm, giving, thoughtful, kind individual, and his approach to fatherhood. And please go and watch YouTube and meet Kai, because he is the sweetest little boy.
Cute.
And the way that Mark has just poured love into him and then transferred that and everything that he's learned into his book, Dads Kiss Your Sons, to be able to share everything that he has learned with everyone that he can, is just really beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful guest. I don't think he'd be the father he is today without those circumstances. So I guess it's true that everything happens for a reason.
And I think I really appreciate Mark because, this is the first time that we have had interviews with more extensively talking to other people than talking about ourselves. And I didn't really know what to expect. And I think he made us really excited for the rest of this journey and getting to learn more about other people and their lives. So,
yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. We love you.
We love you.
We love you, Mark.
And for now, we're signing off. In the meantime, we hope you leave feeling a little bit more normal in your own family dynamic, excited for the possibilities, and more curious about the world around you. Have a good week. Take things in stride and leave people better than you found them. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.